Jehovah's Witnesses claim that they don't break up families. As we've just witnessed in courts in Norway, and as once stated by Jehovah's Witness lawyer / elder David Gnam in the Canadian Supreme Court, they continually toe the line that normal family relations continue. Now, we know that that's a lie, and it's a big one.
It was the Bible account of Aaron. Jehovah directly judged 2 of Aaron's sons and put them to death. In this case, Jehovah asked Aaron and his family not to mourn in order to show the entire nation that they supported Jehovah's judgment. Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
Talk to any ex-witness and they'll confirm that this isn't the case. Normal family relations do not continue. And even if JW parents or relatives decide to have some type of relationship with you, perhaps through some JW loophole that they think they found to ease their conscience, this relationship is anything from what we could consider normal. And while Watchtower continues to lie in court, they continue to lie in media puff pieces that are bought and paid for by Watchtower's PID department. Their publications and videos make it clear that contact must be cut off, to the point of not even responding to calls, messages, or social media. I noticed a tweet the other day that reminded me of my own experience. An ex-witness, their parents were trying to reach out and have a relationship with their grandkids. And I've seen this time again. It's a common story where the grandparents will, seemingly well-intentioned, come in and try to have a relationship with the kids or have the kids over, but they don't want to have anything to do with you. And most I've found have set healthy boundaries in this case where, it's either all of us or none of us. And for Jehovah's Witness parents, grandparents, that should be good enough. They've even agreed not to talk about spiritual things, as Jehovah's Witnesses say. That's the caveat. But it's not good enough for them, and so they generally won't have any association. And that's telling in itself, because it shows their intentions are really not just to have a normal relationship with their family, with their grandkids, but their intention is to try and indoctrinate their kids, try to save their kids, because Armageddon's coming any day, and that's generally the theme that we see. It reminded me of an experience I had once. I was with I had my 7-year-old daughter with me. We went for ice cream, and my dad happened to be in front of us in the line. So we went up to order, and we were next to him, and he didn't make eye contact with me. He didn't acknowledge me, but he reached down and he patted my daughter on the head, and she just looked at him funny. And as we left, she said, "Who is that man, Dad?" And so I had to tell her, that's my dad, and he doesn't, he's shunning me, so that's why he didn't talk to me. Even though she sees my dad at the Kingdom Hall meetings during the week when her mom takes her, she still obviously has little to no relationship with him if she didn't even recognize him at that age. And that's just one small example of how my own family acts around me and treats me. And this is the point I wanted to make. They say they don't break up families. They say they don't actively talk bad about you. They may say that they don't talk bad about me to my kids, and so that should be good enough. But how is a 7-year-old little girl supposed to make sense of that? What is she supposed to think? When the person she loves and wants to spend time with, her dad, she looks up to, she thinks he's pretty great still because she's only 7, she's not a teenager yet. How is she supposed to feel when everyone in her JW world, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, my own parents, treat me like I don't exist? treat her dad that she loves like he's not even worth the effort to say hello. They can't make eye contact because he's some scary individual. They actively avoid me. They commend my sons, her older brothers, for shunning me. How's a child supposed to make any sense of that crazy balancing act? How can she love someone that everyone else that she loves hates so very much? So in lots of cases, children will distance themselves as they become teenagers because of the outside pressure that they're feeling, that they want to, they want to appease their JW parents, JW family, friends, and so maybe they'll cut off that association, and for a while they'll feel satisfied with that. Even though it's a real conflict, they feel like they're doing the right thing and that everyone is happy and God is happy with them. But the trouble is, as these years go on, even if they do realize later in life that, maybe that wasn't right, and maybe they could have had a relationship with both parents and with their whole family, that was their choice. It wasn't Watchtower's choice. Well, now they have to deal with the repercussions of dealing with believing family down the road, and then they have to also deal with the lost time because of all of what happened in the past. So I guess the point is, normal family relations, they don't continue when a family member leaves or is disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses. This cult breaks up families, and that's a fact. It drives a wedge between parents and their children. They claim that it's God that requires it, but that's another lie. It's purely a control tactic from an abusive, narcissistic cult that's trying to blackmail anyone who leaves into coming back, and they hold our families hostage in the meantime. It's an interesting experience to be disfellowshipped and reinstated. I'm sure lots have experienced it. You experience a switch, a JW switch that gets flipped when they make that announcement. Nashon Osborne is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then you see that switch flip back on when they make that opposite announcement that you've been reinstated. And that's a weird thing to manage in your own mind, because you can see their love, their care and affection. It gets turned off as easily as a light switch. And you realize that you've been indoctrinated to feel the same way, that you were ready to cut people off. I never had to cut off a family member in that way, but I imagine as a believing Jehovah's Witness, I would have done the same. And I guess it comes down to, in the end, where they draw a real hard line is if you say anything against their beliefs, their doctrine, anything against Watchtower, they look at that as an offense against God. And they don't see that the reality of it is that it's obedience that Watchtower wants. And it's not obedience to God. It's obedience to a corporation masquerading as God's spokesman here on earth. And once you make that stand, once you point out the damaging practices and policies of this organization, once you point out the problem they have with child abuse, you point out the holes in the blood doctrine and how it really isn't even scriptural, well, they'll shut you right off. Your parents would rather see you hospitalized, they'd rather see you medicated, they'd rather see you struggling with an addiction and having, terrible thoughts about ending it, than they would have you speak out against Watchtower. And that's a scary thing, because they don't want you to get better. They don't want you to heal. They want you to stay a Jehovah's Witness, no matter the cost. Even if it costs you your life, that is the most important thing, because they're not living for this life. Jehovah's Witnesses are living for the next life. This is just a waiting room. And what a terrible waste of a life that is, to just wait for another life, to do the things you want to do and treat people the way you want to treat them. All of that progression that you may have made after the fact, it doesn't really matter to them. You can clean up your life, you can become a healthy, stable, productive person, a caring person, an accepting person, a loving person that cares about truth. It's meaningless to them. It's meaningless to them without obedience to Watchtower. And the way they deal with that is they'll make up a story about you in their minds, or they'll freeze you in time at a time when you were struggling, when you were maybe having a bit of a nervous breakdown, or things were going really poorly in your life. They'll freeze you in time there. It doesn't matter how many years go by. You were always the drunk, or the person who was in hospital with mental issues, or you were always screwed up in some way and mentally ill. Even if you've shown that that's not the case, they'll freeze you in time there to ease their conscience so that they can continue to shun you. They'll make up excuses like it's your choice to shun them. You're the one shunning them. They're not shunning you. And we all know that that's not true either, because no organization has told us to shun them, and the door is always open. They'll say that you just want to sin. Maybe you just want to live a life of sin, and that's why they have to shun you, or you're shunning them, which is another lie, but another easing of their conscience. It's funny because it's really you doing what you were taught to do. You're speaking up for truth. You're exposing false doctrine, harmful, abusive practices, and you're treating others how you want to be treated. Finally doing that with your life once you leave, and yet they shun you because of it. So what I've learned in all of this is that there's no real love in this organization. It's purely conditional. And once you've experienced the JW's toggle switch of love and care and concern go off and on again, it's never really the same. It's a startling realization that this is very conditional. And I think it's probably a lot of the reason why a lot of people don't go back, is because it's really hard to make any sense of that off-on switch with a person's care and concern for someone, especially someone you care as much about as your children. I know I could never shun my kids. It wouldn't matter what happened. But it happens all the time in this organization. So it's coercive, it's manipulative. For me, the way they treat us when we have kids that still have another witness parent, the way they teach our kids to treat us like we don't exist, the harm that does on their mental health, and the fact that they don't care about that. They think they're doing the best thing. They think that they're saving this kid, and they think in their own minds that they're not really doing anything wrong, and that they're not hurting your relationship with your own child, but they are. They're hurting it all the time, and it's by their actions, not just their words. So when the Jehovah's Witnesses say they don't shun family members, when they say normal family relations continue, they're lying, and they do it all the time. So if someone says that to you, be sure to call them out on it, and let us know if you're experiencing something similar.
The nature of the relationship then of a disfellowshipped person is not completely shunned. The disfellowshipped person is able to come into the congregation, to the congregation meetings. They're able to attend in the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're able to sit wherever they like. They can sing the spiritual songs with the congregation. As far as their family members are concerned, normal family relations continue with the exception of spiritual fellowship.